It took me 9 months to get my first real estate wholesale deal. Over the course of those 9 months, I learned a lot of things. From all the mistakes that I made, I learned a lot of things. And up until this very point right now, I've learned a lot of things. But just to focus in on the beginning, today I want to share with you guys three mistakes to avoid when you are in the beginning phase of your real estate investing, wholesaling career. So the first thing you really have to avoid is don't over leverage yourself with all these marketing streams and channels and expenses, right? So when you first start real estate investing, real estate wholesaling, you know that there's multiple things to do. So you can do real estate cold calling, you can do direct mail, you can do bandit signs, you can do so many things. But it's really important for you guys to really don't focus on doing all of these different things. So just to give you a quick story, when I first started real estate investing, I know about all the different avenues because I literally tried all of them almost at the same time. So at the first start of it, I did direct mail. You know, that's what you first hear about, mail it out, do your mailers. So I did direct mail and I bought bandit signs. So the direct mail, I mailed to about 100 people. I think I spent about $250. It was postcards. And I had the bandit signs. I bought about 100 of them. I think I spent about, I don't know, $200. And this was in the very, very, very beginning. So I had it set in my mind, like I'm about to, take on the whole Cincinnati. I'm taking on the whole market. I'm about to sew it all up. Here it is. So I ended up doing all of that, guys. But I over leveraged myself. So once all of I started getting return mail for once because I didn't do the direct mail, I guess, correctly. So I got a lot of yellow postcards returned back to me, which was upsetting to say the least. I spent about $200. And then the bandit signs, I had them spread out pretty much all over the city. So I had some, like, I would say about an hour, within an hour radius. So all the way hours north, south, east, west, they were all within an hour radius. So I wasn't coming back to pick them up because they were so far away. So that's one way, I kind of really messed up on it. But also, guys, I had did all of this and then I found myself just waiting. So I'm like, okay, I know they're going to call. I know they're going to call. I know they're going to call. And then nobody ever called for the most part. I did get one person and I didn't get a deal from it. It ended up being, I'm pretty sure, a wholesaler. But he gave me a property address. I looked into it, but I spent about $400 in marketing, didn't get anything from it. Put it in so many different marketing channels, and I believe that's the main reason why I wasn't focused, right? I wasn't consistent. And that leads me to the second really big thing you guys have to avoid on your entrepreneurial journey of real estate wholesaling. You really have to avoid being able to, not get so excited that you may be closing your first deal or you're getting close to closing your first deal, either way, that you don't be consistent, right? So you need to avoid not being consistent because you think you're about to get your first deal or you're about to close your first deal. So I'll explain to you guys how this relates to my life. When I was in the beginning phase, those first 9 months, I had several instances where I thought that this deal was the deal, right? So I was completely convinced that the deal that I had was the deal, was going to give me my first deal. I was about to be quitting my job. I was excited. So what came with that, since the goal was for me to get my first deal, then what came with that was once I got to a point where I was about to get my first deal, I will put all of my energy and focus on that one deal, right? So I will be focusing in on every little aspect of it. I'm talking about from the front part of it, like after I get it under contract, I'm looking at all of the comps, like, okay, I'm convincing myself on why it's a good deal and why I'll be selling it to somebody. I'm like, okay, this property sold for this property sold for that. They got to get my property for this amount. It's going to be a great deal. So I'm spending time convincing myself about that. I'm also spending time finding buyers for the deal, right? So I'm finding buyers and, figuring that whole thing out. And that's why I really recommend you guys, definitely, when you're first starting out, there's a huge benefit of being able to JV, do a joint venture or whatever, with a experienced wholesaler in your market. You'll learn a bunch of stuff. You'll get a bunch of cash buyers that are actually buying. You'll really save yourself a lot. So with me being, getting so close and focusing on all these little things, I would stop my overall marketing, right? So I would stop marketing, stop my process, which at that time it was cold calling. So I would stop calling or call less leads because I'm so focused on either trying to sell this deal or convince myself basically why it's a good deal. So don't spend time doing that. You got a good deal under contract, great, right? Even if it's your first one, congratulations, but it's not about one deal. Remember that. That's why I really preach to you guys that you have to love the process. This process that you're going to be doing to get your first deal is the same process that you're going to be doing once you've had 50 deals and you've made over $100,000 in 1 year. So once you get out of your head about the first deal, it's not about your first deal. It's about developing a process that you love and that yields results. So focus on that process. So once you get that first deal, if you're on your journey right now, you're close to getting your first deal or you're about to close on your first deal, then focus on the next deal. That's literally what this business is. Like, I don't mean to spoil you any grand surprise or any lavish stuff you may have thought, but literally this business is nothing but deal after deal after deal after deal after deal after deal. It's literally deal after deal, guys. That's it. That's all this business is. So get that in your head right now. Instead of being in the beginning and you're celebrating because you just closed your first deal, or you're celebrating because you're about to close your first deal, or you're freaking excited because you just got your first deal under contract and you're figuring out how to close your first deal. Either way, just realize that that's just one step on a long journey. Even real estate wholesaling in general, that's one step on a long journey. Unless you want to wholesale for the rest of your life, which, for some people that may be your end goal. But if that's what you want to do for the rest of your life, then don't look at your first deal as the biggest achievement, or you're going to be headed for a steep crash as soon as you get that check, because you're thinking that this is the only, big accomplishment that's in your future, which is not. Once you get the first one, congratulations, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, and figure out how to make the process easier or better or more efficient, more effective. Focus on the process. Don't focus on the results, all right? So last but definitely not least, and really maybe even most important, do not blow your seller phone up, guys. So that's one thing I fell victim of in the very beginning, right? So this is something that, I've grown out of now. And just to be completely transparent with you guys, as far as being consistent, I've now transitioned out of that phase of, getting a huge deal and just being like, forget it. Like, I've transitioned out of that phase. Nowadays, I get a nice deal, get a nice check. I'm putting it up. I'm investing into more stuff. I got so much other things going on that, another deal just funds everything else that I'm looking to do. So that's where I'm at with everything right now. So I'm out of that, not being consistent after I got a big check. That was something. It's something that no matter what phase of life, I feel like it. I mean, you can be a millionaire, and maybe I'm wrong, but you can be a millionaire and you get $100,000 check. You just like, hey, wait a minute, let me relax for a bit. Let me take some time off. Let me enjoy this big accomplishment, right? So, but at different stages, the time off can be more or less rewarding, right? So if you're a millionaire taking that time off, it can be rewarding, right? You're good. So if you're, $100,000 veneer, whatever you want to call it, but if you're touching six figures at the low end of six figures and you're celebrating over a nice little check, good. But, focus on building that up, man. So guys, don't blow your seller phone up. I stopped doing this. I'm able to transition out of this really for the sole reason of me really maintaining and accepting my abundance mindset. So once I stopped doing this, and just to give you guys the first story of when I really realized I had to scale back, is when I had my first deal that I knew, like, it was set to close. I had it sold. It ended up falling apart because of probate stuff. But it was unfortunate. But I ended up blowing up the seller's phone. I'm talking about, like, they weren't answering. So I had to get them to sign some paperwork with the attorneys and a whole bunch of stuff. But I ended up blowing up their phone. I called them, I would say, 5 times over the course of 2 days. And that's because they were supposed to call me back to fill out some paperwork or talk with the family, but they never called me back on the set time and day that we had. So I followed up with them like that next day and like called them once in the morning, once at night. Then the next day I followed up morning, evening, or morning, afternoon, and night. So they ended up citing the reason that they did not want to continue, along with they had to get signatures from so many family members. But another thing was that they did not like how overbearing I was, right? They felt like I was hitting them up too much. I was overwhelming them and really making them force the sale on the property. So that was a reality check for me. I figured out me calling somebody, multiple times does not really help any type of thing that's going on, especially if they said they were going to call you back and they just didn't. So what I now realize is that life happens, and that's what you guys have to realize. Life happens. I know the anxiety, the feeling that the anxious feeling that you might get when your seller stops responding. If you want to figure out how to get your seller to start responding, make sure you click that video up there. It's a great video. I'll give you guys some great information, but definitely go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for your boy as well before we finish this off. But guys, the main thing with your not blowing up your seller's phone is you're being able to release the mindset of this one deal is all I'm worthy of, basically. So once you release that mindset, then you're able to open up not only just that deal, because you're not thinking about it anymore, so it'll attract to you, but you're also opening up more deals because you're now saying that isn't the only thing out there. There's more possibilities out there. It's challenging. It can be challenging to have an abundance mindset in all avenues of life. But the more you work towards it, the better you'll be. And it's a work in progress, even for myself. But guys, like I said, the more you have this abundance mindset, especially when it comes to this real estate investing, wholesaling, the better off you'll be because you're going to be detached the level of care. So it's not going to be as desire, right? So anytime somebody it's like if you give off desperate energy. If you're desperate, you're probably not going to get it. But if you don't need it, then you'll get it. That's how it typically works, right? If you don't need the money, it'll come. If you need the money, it'll come as well because you got to have faith. But at the same time, it's just different. It's different. So don't need it, right? Just let it happen and come naturally. All right, guys, that's everything I got for you. I appreciate you liking that subscribe button, and I appreciate you guys getting a step in with me. As always, make sure you watch that other video and like the subscribe button. Thank you.